You might think the billions of dollars in fines levied against Wells Fargo and other big banks would have caused them to change their business practices, but you'd be wrong. Congresswoman Maxine Waters has just introduced a bill that would do more than just issue fines. Of course, she's the ranking member of the House Financial Services Committee. She wants to hold Wells Fargo and other mega banks accountable for harming customers. She's calling for bank regulators to step up their game and keep close tabs on banks who have a record of doing bad business. Now, repeat offenders could potentially be shuttered by the Federal Reserve. Now, of course, this week, of course, you saw Senator Elizabeth Warren go after Wells Fargo, and she basically challenged her CEO, saying he should be fired because of their practices where they have harmed customers in terms of opening up these fake accounts. And so let's go to our panel today. A. Scott Bolden, Julian Malveaux, Ralph Chittum. So real basic, folks. Do you believe we will see that take place, or does this country prefer to protect banks, have them simply pay fines, which they also get to write off as a business expense, and then just keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over?
Well, Roland, here's the deal. This is about the regulators, not necessarily about the banks, because you got big, small, and medium-sized banks, right, who feel they're over-regulated already. That being said, what the Congressman is talking about in her report is that the regulators need to do their job. If that's the case, then under this Trump administration, you're going to have a hard time doing that, because they're more pro-business, they're more hands-off, they want less regs, and quite frankly, given the complexities of financial institutions and how we are connected all over the world financially through wires and the internet, it's unlikely we're going to see that progress under this administration.
We won't see it. In fact,
but not just regulators. First of all, we've seen massive cutbacks by Republican-led Congress when it comes to the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission.
Yep.
But again, but what you also see, though, you see again where they have been able to spread money to Republicans and Democrats. You don't have any action that's taken against them. And again, we have this system where they pay massive fines, but again, they get to write those fines off as a business expense. That does not hurt them at all.
You know, Roland, one of the things that they might do, and I think that would make a difference, would be to say that the fines are not write-offs, that you cannot write off those fines. I think that would make a difference. But the regulators are not basically obeying their own regulations, and that's the problem that we have. They're not enforcing the regulations. Furthermore, CEOs need to be held to criminal liability when you see the kind of fraud that was perpetrated on so many customers in the Wells Fargo case. But the fact is that Dodd-Frank is a powerful legislation, but has not ever been sufficiently enforced, and this administration wants to deregulate. They want to basically undo everything that the Obama administration did. Yesterday, I was at the Department of Education, where they want to loosen the regulations for the for-profit colleges, making it easier for these colleges to rip off who? Black and brown kids. It's not just those colleges. We go down the list and look at it. And so I appreciate and admire Maxine Waters. She has always been phenomenal on these financial issues, but she can't do it by herself. And even legislation passing cannot get regulators, many of whom are appointed by this administration, to do their work.
And Dr. Malveaux,
Ralph, I am laughing when I see these stories that will be proposed or floated on Capitol Hill to have Wall Street self-regulate. That's hilarious.
Well, Dr. Malveaux was absolutely correct. You know, there have been laws on the books for years that simply have not been enforced. You know, we have this ridiculous concept of institutions that are too big to fail. What the heck is too big to fail? You know, if you're out there and you're doing something wrong, you go out of business. If you require a government just to prop you up because you're a financial institution, no, that's called crony. That's called crony capitalism.
There are some banks that are too big to fail.
No, there is no such thing. There is no such thing as too big to fail. There is no such thing.
You want to get this done? You want these regulations done? You want these regulations done?
Let me be clear.
Take back the House.
Let me be clear.
Take back the House or the Senate, and you'll get enforcement.
Well, first of all, that's not necessarily true because they've been very good at buying off Democrats as well. The bottom line is here. So that they bought off Democrats, they bought off Republicans. I'll say this, Ralph, he's absolutely right. There is no such thing as too big to fail. When we allow that to be the thinking, which is why we can't go after these particular banks. And so we'll see what happens with the Congresswoman's proposal.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no.
That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong.
unfiltered.
He wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV 1.